this is Upasana from Edureka, and welcome to this module on IoT applications. By now, I'm sure most of you have already heard the term Internet of Things and how it redefines our interaction with technology every day. So before we begin, let's quickly look into our agenda for today. Firstly, we shall discuss briefly the need for IoT. Then I'll be breaking down the term Internet of Things for you guys. Moving on, we have our focus of the video, that is the applications of IoT and how it's making our world smarter. Finally, I shall be concluding with the future and scope of IoT. I hope the agenda was clear with all of you. Also, I would like to encourage you all to interrupt me anywhere in between the session if you have any questions at all. So without much ado, let's get straight to the module. So let's start with a simple question. What is the need for IoT? We still had devices to do things for us before the IoT existed, right? So what is the difference with or without IoT? The difference is that you had to run from machine to machine telling them what to do for you. But with the Internet of Things, the devices can interact, collaborate, and learn from each other's experiences just like we humans do. This is ultimately aimed to reduce human intervention in a machine cycle. The machines here are in continuous touch with each other and could be pre-instructed on what to do and when to do it. Not just that, these machines can even adapt to your needs and modify how they function. I shall be discussing this part in detail later in the session. So let's find out what IoT actually means. Now, the term Internet of Things has two keywords, Internet and Things. Internet, as we all know, is a network of networks. It is a medium through which our devices connect, and the thing could literally be any object with intelligence to connect to the internet. Of course, by any object, I'm talking about an object embedded with software or electronics. These things could refer to way more than your traditional PCs, laptops, and smartphones. It could be your ACs, your coffee machines, your cars, and even entire cities. So IoT is basically a platform where everyday devices are connected to the internet so they can interact and exchange data with each other. Okay, now I see we already have a question here. So Sarthak here asks, the internet I spoke about, how is it different from the web that we use for our laptop computers and phones? So Sarthak, the internet and the web are often mistaken for the same thing, but they aren't. The World Wide Web, or simply the web, is only a way to access and share information that is available on the internet. Whereas the internet is a huge network that connects various devices globally. Any device can communicate with another device as long as they both are connected to the internet. So the web is basically only a way to access documents that are already existing in the internet space. I hope this part is clear to you all. So finally, we have arrived at our main agenda, that is the applications of IoT. While the Internet of Things equips a multitude of domains and millions of devices with connectivity every day, there are still a few domains which I find a tad more interesting than the others. And they are IoT in everyday lives, IoT in healthcare, in smart cities, agriculture, industrial automation, and finally in disaster management. First, we have Internet of Things in our daily lives. This is probably a hallmark in the IoT industry, as it's also one of the first industries to deploy IoT at its service. So let me give you an example of how IoT can serve us in our daily lives. Consider a home appliance such as your AC. Currently, what you do is that you go home, you turn on your AC, and wait for it to reach a temperature that you like, say about 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I see a question. Okay, it's not a question. Shubham here says that 25 degrees is way too warm. So all right, Shubham. So you go home, you turn on your AC and wait for it to reach 23 degrees Celsius. Coming back to our session here. So does anybody see a problem here? No one? That's probably because there isn't a problem here. This is a perfectly functional setting. But what if it could be better? What if when your car was 5 minutes away, your AC received a message? What if it was connected to a cloud which had a dashboard containing all the relevant information like the location of your car, the outside temperature, and the temperature at which you liked your room? Your AC could then turn on before you arrived and create an ambience that you like. Wouldn't that be something? Well, you can remove all the what ifs from the previous scenario, as this no longer must just be a figment of your imagination, thanks to the Internet of Things. IoT can connect your Fitbits to your vehicles, from your smartphones to your in-flight services, from home appliances like your ACs to whole entire cities. Maybe this is what Kevin Ashton meant when he spoke of this concept where every area, sensor, man and machine could be connected to one another. So I hope you all are with me till here. So next we have IoT in healthcare. I'm sure most of you have heard about the smart medicine dispensers by now. As the name suggests, it's basically a smart appliance that stores, dispenses, and manages your medicines for you. Now, this is a very small piece of a very big picture. The healthcare and the general practice of medicine majorly faces issues in one or more of these three things. We have your research, devices, and care. Medical research has to rely upon leftover data in controlled settings for medical examination. It lacks real world data which can solve critical conditions. IoT could be the answer to all these problems. The Internet of Things opens ways to a sea of valuable data through analysis and real time testing. Internet of Things empowers healthcare professionals and improves the quality of care. Finally, it ultimately reduces the unsustainably high costs of medical devices. So here is an example. This is basically an outline of how a care device works. A care device has certain parameters that are considered safe. Once one of them is breached, the sensor immediately relays this message via a secure gateway to a cloud. Now, it is vital for this gateway to be secure as it holds all your valuable medical records. The cloud then passes a remote signal to a smart device that is monitored either by a nurse or a caretaker at home. The beauty of remote patient monitoring is that patients can now replace a long wait at the doctor's office with a quick check-in, data share, and instructions on how to proceed. IoT hence bridges the gap between reading devices and delivering healthcare by creating systems rather than just equipment. So I see I have another question here. Nimisha asks, how reliable is IoT as opposed to the technology we already have? See, Nimisha, reliability is an ongoing process. Connected devices have a huge advantage over the technology we use now, as they can leverage user feedback to almost immediately update software. The bigger the community, the more reliable these devices become. With that said, let's move on to one of the most talked about prospects of IoT, the smart cities. Now, the thing about a smart city is that a smart city solution is very specific to that one city. The problems faced in Bombay are very different than the problems faced in Delhi. Even global issues such as waste control, traffic management, availability of finite drinking water, housing, and pollution impact different cities with different intensities. So, the only way to really make a city smarter is to cater specifically to its problem. One such problem, consistent among most urban cities, is traffic. So, imagine an intelligent device, like a traffic camera. A camera that can monitor the road of traffic jams, accidents, rains, etc., and communicate that status to a gateway. Now, this gateway also receives data from various other cameras from all around the city. This in itself could form a city-wide traffic system. Now, where can we use it? So let's say the municipal corporation has decided to repair a road which connects to a highway for more than one city. Now, this could cause a massive congestion. A smart camera could send this insight to the city-wide traffic system. Now, considering this is a smart traffic system, it quickly learns and predicts patterns in traffic. It will analyze the situation, predict its impact, and relay this information to other cities that connect to the highway via their own monitoring systems. Now, the traffic management systems then can derive routes for cars around these projects. Live instructions could be sent to drivers via radio channels and their respective smart devices. What is a bonus is that if there is a school or an office building which has no other way but to use that road under construction, they can be automatically called and asked to reschedule. This creates a network of self-dependent systems which leverage real-time control. And this is just one example of the potential benefits of IoT applications. So next we have a sector which is most neglected despite the importance it holds, that is agriculture. However, manual handling often results in loss of energy, labor cost, and other inaccuracies, which make all its processes less effective. Internet of Things here can provide with a number of solutions. Precision farming, smart irrigation, and smart greenhouse are a few to name. The first two cases are pretty similar, as in both cases there are sensors detecting various parameters at each level of the soil. We have moisture content, temperature, and weather conditions. One can tell the correct depth to sow the crops or the right time to water them. But one of the more intriguing solutions is the smart greenhouse. A lot of you might be wondering, what is a greenhouse? So, the greenhouse is a farming technique where you can increase yield by controlling natural parameters. So, if we could use embedded devices in these greenhouses, we could not only just monitor it regularly, but we could practically control the climate inside the greenhouse. So, how the system works is that the sensors sense various parameters and areas of issue inside the greenhouse. They then relay the information via a connection gateway to the cloud, which then sends remote commands via the same gateway back to the sensors. So, once these signals are acknowledged, they are passed on to the switchgear, which then activate the lighting, pumps, and turbines inside the greenhouse, which then create artificial sunlight and sometimes artificial precipitation inside the greenhouse. What more? From the connection gateway, as you can see, there is a monitor through which 24/7 real-time monitoring has come into effect. Also, you could use any smart device to remote the conditions inside your greenhouse. So, with elimination of irregularities and human errors, this creates a much more efficient system. So, with that, we conclude the role of Internet of Things in agriculture. So, next we have another domain where IoT could prove to be a game changer. This is one of those fields where both faster developments as well as the quality of products are the critical factors for a higher return on investment. I am talking about the industrial automation sector. But there are still a few problems that need to be addressed in this sector. I think you all might have already guessed what I'm going to say. Well, IoT comes to the rescue again. The Internet of Things improves the line of command immensely. It optimizes packaging and makes quality tests so much easier to run. What more? You do not even have to worry about the training cost of too much staff or a lot of staff going on a holiday because these factories pretty much run on their own. You can monitor the supply chain in real time while keeping an eye on your inventories. With IoT applications, one could even re-engineer products and their packaging to deliver better performance in both cost and customer experience. So this brings me to the final application for today, that is disaster management. Now, the IoT cannot stop disasters from happening, but it surely can help in preparedness and resilience during one. Due to high population density, poor evacuation infrastructure, and exposure to severe weather events, developing countries are more exposed to the risks of natural disasters and often have limited means to sustain the effects. As a consequence, according to a study, more than 95% of all deaths caused by a disaster occur in developing countries. IoT can compensate for this by prediction, preparedness, response, and recovery to rescue developing and emerging countries from their vulnerable positions. Let me give you an example of a forest fire where IoT could be used as a solution. To be prepared for critical incidents like a forest fire, sensors are installed near the perimeters of the forest. They contribute to data feeds about temperature and carbon emissions to a control room which is common to the entire town. This is done via a secure network gateway in real time. They anticipate problems and put defenses in place to mitigate their impact, namely the police, the nearby hospitals, and most importantly, the fire brigade. If such an emergency occurs near urban areas, people and communities are alerted via social media, conventional media channels, and SMS. This brings me to the end of all applications that I had listed. Now that we've gone through a few applications of IoT, let's move on to its future scope. In just 1 year, internet connected devices went from 5 million to billions. But there are still a few areas that need work. So the devices forming the base of IoT are wireless in nature and reside at very remote places where energy is a very vital issue. So with growing functionality of each device, we need algorithms and hardware that are energy efficient to avoid quick draining of batteries. We need to make sure that sensors are active for longer durations. Like any other advancement in technology, even in IoT, security is a standout issue. This issue keeps getting bigger with more and more devices being connected to one another. We need information seclusion methods to benefit end clients and secure their data and privacy. Now, it will be really tough to implement the anytime concept of IoT in reality. But this needs continuous work, and the closest we can get to this is only by reducing the complexity of each existing time systems. We need continuous work to reduce the gap between near real time and actual real time. IoT applications promise to bring immense value into our lives. In fact, the number of openings for IoT professionals is at an all-time high. So I think it is the best time to begin exploring the true potential of this technology. So with this, let's conclude this session. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box below. Thank you and have a great day.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!